Unrivaled ratings being straight trash. I mean, complete dog shiznit. Despite there being a new television rating system, and the numbers are still way down.
They called it the revolution women's basketball was waiting for. A league built by superstars for the players, ready to change the game. It promised big-time salaries, a spot on national TV, and an end to the brutal overseas grind that wore down a generation of athletes.
They can't sell tickets. Their league is officially spiraling the toilet. I read this. The ratings, by the way, are even worse than we thought.
It was called Unrivaled, and for a minute there, it really felt like the future had arrived. But now, a different story is taking hold. It's a narrative being pushed by critics, whispered in comment sections, and shouted by the media. A story of a complete and total collapse.
This is just all around a total failure at this point.
They'll tell you the Unrivaled experiment is officially over. They'll show you headlines about a catastrophic second season, with ratings supposedly in a freefall and fans vanishing into thin air. They're painting a picture of a league on the edge of ruin, a cautionary tale about flying too close to the sun. They'll tell you the dream is dead. This is the story you're being sold. A league that crashed and burned harder than any in recent memory. A project that overpromised and underdelivered, leaving its players adrift and its investors staring into a financial black hole. It's a simple, dramatic narrative, and tonight we're going to pick it apart, piece by piece. Because in sports, the loudest story is rarely the whole story.
I thought there was a slim chance that this league was around. Would it make a season 3? I don't know how it can now. In its inaugural season, Unrivaled was a spectacle. Was it? Question mark?
The truth is almost always more complicated. So is Unrivaled really finished? Or is the story of its death just part of the game? Let's find out. To get why the story of Unrivaled's supposed downfall is so compelling, you have to understand just how ambitious it was. In 2024, two of the biggest names in the WNBA, Breanna Stewart and Napheesa Collier, did something radical. As leaders in the Players Association, they knew the financial reality of their sport inside and out. For decades, the best female players in the world lived a double life. They'd play a full WNBA season, and then, to make the money they truly deserved, they'd spend another 7 or 8 months playing for clubs in Europe and Asia, thousands of miles from home.
In year 2, the sparkle has worn off. The fan fest outside was less of a throng and more like a collection of supporters.
Unrivaled was built to be the answer. A high-stakes 3x3 league on a slick, TV-ready half-court in Miami. The concept was electric, fast-paced games, high-drama possessions, and a spotlight on individual talent. Most importantly, it gave players a real reason to stay home. The league promised and delivered salaries that made WNBA paychecks look small. In its first year, the average player reportedly earned around $220,000 for an 8-week season, with superstars making much more. This wasn't just a side gig, it was a legitimate, high-paying career path in the United States.
From 850 to 1,000 fans, seats were empty. There were absolutely seats that did not have people in them at all. If you are a WNBA player, I would get on the horn to Nike Agumake, and I would say, we're signing the CBA.
And the players bought in, big time. The rosters for the inaugural season were stacked. Stars like Angel Reese, Kelsey Plum, and Brittany Griner were on board. The league landed a massive 6-year television deal with TNT Sports and attracted a universe of A-list investors, from Stephen Curry and Michael Phelps to Serena Williams and Giannis Antetokounmpo. It was a league built by players, for players, and it looked unstoppable. By all accounts, the first season was a hit. It created buzz, sold out its cozy 8-trined 70-seat arena, and put up solid viewership numbers, averaging 21,000 viewers and peaking for its championship and one-on-one tournament. It really seemed like Stewart and Collier had cracked the code. But then came season 2 in January 20. This is where the collapse narrative kicks in. The headlines turned dark. Reports of a viewership crash started popping up. Stories of quiet arenas and empty seats began to circulate. The story being pushed was that the novelty was gone, the business model was broken, and the whole grand experiment was about to implode. The narrative goes like this. High on its own success, the league got greedy. It expanded from 6 to 8 teams, watering down the talent. It lost some key players from season 1, with stars like Angel Reese and Jewel Lloyd not returning. Then the numbers came in, and according to the critics, they were a disaster. Ratings were supposedly cut in half. The arenas, even with a small capacity increase to 1,000 seats, were allegedly full of empty blue chairs. The once lively fan fest was described as a trickle, not a throng. This is the picture of failure they painted. A league that had it all, only to blow its momentum in a single offseason. A project that was no longer a revolution, but a sinking ship. It's a powerful story, and it spread fast. But is it true? To figure that out, we have to look past the headlines and at the numbers themselves. The biggest weapon used against Unrivaled has been its TV ratings. The claims were brutal. A report, amplified across social media, laid out the supposed carnage. The Season 2 opener on January 5, 2026, reportedly averaged just 705,000 viewers across TNT and True TV, a huge drop from the previous year's average of 21,000. And it got worse. Games that were only on True TV, a secondary channel, pulled in truly alarming numbers. One slate of games averaged a measly 32,000 viewers, while another weekend on True TV alone averaged just 71,000. On the surface, those numbers look damning. A drop-off of that size seems catastrophic. Critics pounced, declaring the league dead in the water. They called it a grim and shaky start, pointing to the numbers as proof that the audience had disappeared. But this is where context is everything. The story being sold is a simple one. The league is failing. The reality of TV viewership today is anything but simple. First, let's talk about the competition. Unrivaled's opening weeks in 2026 went head-to-head with an absolute monster, the NFL playoffs and the college football playoff. For any sports league, especially a startup in its second year, competing with the most dominant force in American television is a recipe for a rough night. Ignoring that isn't just misleading, it's a deliberate choice to make the numbers look as bad as possible. Second, the channels map. The narrative lumps all the ratings together, but there's a huge difference between a game on TNT and one exclusively on True TV. The 32,000 and 71,000 viewer averages were for games shown only on True TV. While those numbers aren't great, they represent the league's secondary broadcast package, not the main event. The games simulcast on TNT, while lower than the previous year, still pulled in six-figure audiences against monster competition. For example, the January 9th games averaged 39,000 viewers across both networks. It's a decline for sure, but it's a long way from total audience abandonment. And that's not even counting stream. All Unrivaled games also air on Max, and those streaming numbers aren't included in these public Nielsen reports. In an age where more and more people stream content, relying only on traditional TV ratings gives you an incomplete picture. In its first season, the league delivered the 10 most streamed women's basketball games ever on Max. Is a dip in broadcast viewership a concern? Of course. CEO Alex Bazell acknowledged the numbers, but put them in perspective, stating, "We're building Unrivaled for the long game, and we're confident in our outlook." That doesn't sound like panic from a league in collapse. It sounds like a startup navigating a brutal media landscape. They're in the early stages of a 6-year, multi-million-dollar media deal. This isn't a year-to-year fight for survival. It's a long-term investment by both the league and its broadcast partner. So, when you peel back the layers, you don't find a league that's lost its audience. You find a young league facing tough but predictable challenges. The story of a massive viewership crater is sensational, but the reality is much more nuanced. Growth was never going to be a straight line up, and calling these early struggles a death sentence ignores the reality of building a sports league from the ground up. If ratings were pillar 1 of the collapse narrative, attendance was pillar 2. The story painted a bleak scene. The inaugural season's magic was gone, and Season 2 was being played in front of empty stands. Reports called the Fan Fest a trickle, and noted seats were empty inside the renovated 1,000-seat arena. That imagery is powerful. It suggests a product no one wants to see live and a fan base that's already moved on. Critics saw this as the ultimate proof of failure. If you can't even fill a tiny 1,000-person venue, what hope do you have? They claim the league's boast of a 40% increase in opening weekend ticket revenue was just financial spin, a result of adding more seats in games, not real demand. But this narrative of a ghost town arena clashes with the league's strategy. From day one, Unrivaled's business model was never about ticket sales. It was designed as a media-first property, built around its media rights deal with TNT Sports. The small venue wasn't a mistake, it was a soundstage. Its purpose was to create a controlled, high-energy environment optimized for a television broadcast, not to pack in tens of thousands of fans. Is it possible the energy in Week 1 of Season 2 didn't quite match the novelty of the very first opening night? Sure, but does a quieter weekend mean the league is collapsing? The evidence points in the other direction. Just look at the league's expansion plans. A truly collapsing league doesn't make the move Unrivaled is about to make. On January 30th, 2026, the league will hold its first ever event outside of Miami. And it isn't just dipping its toe in the water. It's heading to Philadelphia to play 2 games at the Xfinity Mobile Arena, a major pro sports venue with a capacity of up to 20. That is not the move of a dying league. It's an act of supreme confidence. The press conference announcing the event back in October 2025 was a major local affair, featuring Philadelphia's Mayor Sherelle L. Parker. While early reports noted over 5,000 tickets had already been sold, other sources indicate that resale tickets are commanding high prices, starting at over $100. This Philadelphia event seems to be a huge success and a clear sign they plan to take their show on the road to major market. The narrative of empty seats in Miami falls apart when you see them planning a massive arena event in Philadelphia. It shows the league sees its Miami venue as a production studio, while its real audience growth lies in these big tour stops. They're following a modern playbook, like the UFC or WWE, where media rights are the main business, supplemented by high-demand live events. The arena isn't empty, the narrative is. The third line of attack against Unrivaled has been the player. The story goes that the initial excitement has faded, replaced by regret. The proof: a few big names didn't return for Season 2. Stars from the first year like Angel Reese and Jewel Lloyd are not on the 20. Sabrina Ionescu was also announced as unable to participate due to an injury she sustained during the WNBA season. And most significantly, co-founder Nafisa Collier is missing the entire season after undergoing surgery on both of her ankles. To critics, this was a clear sign of a talent exodus. They argued the league's biggest draws were abandoning the project, leaving behind a weaker talent pool that fans don't care about. But a closer look at the league's rosters tells a completely different story. It's not a story of an exodus, it's a story of explosive growth and an influx of top-tier talent. While losing players like Reese and Ionescu is significant, context matters. Participation in an off-season league always depends on health and personal commitments. Ionescu is out to recover from an injury. Collier, a co-founder, is out because of a necessary medical procedure, not because she's lost faith in her own league. These are the normal ups and downs of pro sports, not signs of a mutiny. What the collapse narrative ignores is the incredible number of stars who did join or return. The league expanded from 6 to 8 teams, adding 12 new roster spots. And look who filled them. The 2026 rookie class is a who's who of basketball's future, led by Paige Bueckers, one of the most celebrated college players in years. She was joined by other top rookies like Cameron Brink and Sonia Citron. It wasn't just rookie. The league added established WNBA All-Stars like Kelsey Mitchell and Brittany Sykes, superstars like Breanna Stewart, Kelsey Plum, Chelsea Gray, and Brittany Griner all came back. In total, the league features 48 active WNBA players. To manage the grind, Unrivaled even introduced a paid development pool of 6 players, including Haley Van Lith, Iziaha James, and Haley Jones, to be ready in case of injury, a player-first move to ensure rosters stay full. This isn't a talent drain, it's a talent boom. The league became so popular that it had to expand a year ahead of schedule just to make room for all the stars who wanted in. Player testimonials also fly in the face of the regret narrative. Natasha Cloud, playing in her hometown during the Philly tour, spoke passionately about the league. She said she's eternally grateful not to have to go overseas for 8 months, away from her family. Arike Ogunbowale said, "This league is providing great things, and we need this in the W." Even newcomer Paige Bueckers expressed her excitement to support the women who came before her. The story of stars jumping ship is a fiction. The league's rosters are deeper and more talented in year 2 than in year 1. Players aren't fleeing, they're flocking. The final, most critical part of the collapse narrative is about money. The argument is that Unrivaled's business model is a house of cards. The high player salaries are unsustainable, The league is burning through cash, and it's only a matter of time before the investors walk away. This narrative is built on the classic startup paradox. You have to spend big money to grow. It's easy to look at a new company with high costs and no profits and call it a failure and wait. But that's not how modern businesses are built, and Unrivaled's financial footing is much stronger than its critics want you to believe. Let's be clear, the league isn't profitable yet, and it doesn't expect to be. League president Alex Bazell has been open about that, saying they are optimistic about the long-term future despite not turning a profit in Season 1. The goal in the early years isn't profit, it's growth and proving the concept works. And by that measure, Unrivaled is knocking it out of the park. The league's first season generated revenue of over $27 million, a figure reportedly double what was projected. This success led to a massive surge in investor confidence. In September 2025, after just one season, Unrivaled closed a new investment round that valued the league at a staggering $340 million. That wasn't a small bump, it was a tenfold increase from its valuation a year earlier. You don't get a $340 million valuation by being a failing business. This was driven by top-tier venture capital firms who saw a business blowing past its financial targets. Bazell even noted the funding round was organic, saying, "We weren't searching set more capital. We built a long enough runway to operate without it." The league's commercial success is also clear. It has attracted a long list of blue-chip sponsors, including Samsung, Under Armour, Xfinity, State Farm, and Sephora. These are major companies signing multi-year deals, providing stable, long-term revenue. That, combined with the 9-figure deal with TNT Sports, provides the financial bedrock for the whole operation. The high player salaries, which critics call a fatal flaw, are actually the league's smartest investment. By offering some of the highest salaries in women's team sports, Unrivaled secured the one thing it needed most: elite talent. That talent drives media value and sponsor interest. The salaries aren't a liability, they're the engine of the business model, paid for by a deep pool of capital from investors who believe in the long-term vision. So is the league burning cash? Yes, like every ambitious startup in history. But is it on the brink of a financial crisis? The evidence says the exact opposite. It's flush with cash, backed by some of the biggest names in sports and finance, and has a valuation that reflects explosive growth. The financial bombshell is a dud. So let's go back to where we started. Is the Unrivaled experiment officially over? Based on the evidence, the answer is a hard no. The narrative of a catastrophic collapse of tanking ratings, empty arenas, fleeing stars, and financial ruin is just that, a narrative. It's a story that falls apart under scrutiny. What we found is a young, ambitious league hitting the predictable bumps of a second season. A league whose TV ratings are challenged by the toughest competition imaginable, but are far from dead. A league whose quiet nights in a Miami studio are a footnote to its expansion into a major arena in Philadelphia. A league that isn't losing stars, but is attracting the next generation of talent, like Paige Bueckers, who will reportedly earn more in one Unrivaled season than in her entire 4-year WNBA rookie. And a league whose finances aren't crumbling but are rock solid, with a $340 million valuation backed by some of the smartest money in the business. Unrivaled exists for a reason. It was created by the leaders of the WNBA Players Association at the very moment they're negotiating a new contract with the WNBA. The league's success is a powerful form of leverage, demonstrating that players can create their own platform and command higher salary. It's no surprise, then, that a narrative of failure started to bubble up, as any perceived weakness could benefit WNBA owners at the bargaining table. The Unrivaled experiment isn't over. It's just getting started. It's navigating the tough early years of a startup with huge capital, elite talent, and a clear vision. The story of its collapse is a phantom, built on half-truths and missing context. The real story is far more interesting. It's a revolution that is very much alive and well. The dream isn't in ruins. It's expanding, evolving, and proving its doubters wrong. The experiment continues, but I want to know what you think. Is the early ratings dip a huge red flag, or just a startup facing tough competition? What does Unrivaled success mean for the future of the WNBA and women's sports? Let me know in the comments below.